Assalamualaikum and good day to all of the Master of Science and PhD student of UITM. My name is Associate Professor Dr. Aman Muhammad Ihsan bin Mamat. I'm currently a director for the Smart Manufacturing Research Institute or SMRI. So SMRI is one of Center of Excellence COE in UITM. So in UITM, we have about 13 Center of Excellence. Um, I will present to you the Module 6 for IGS research skill for this session, for this semester, which is this Module 6 will cover for the research proposal preparations. This module is dedicated for 2026 to sessions, 2026 to academic session. The presentation outline will be covered as follows. In the first part, we're going to have an introductions, and then a little bit background of the presenter, and then after that, we are going to look into the structure of the research proposal, and then after that, that will be in the second part, and then after that, we're going to look into the writing a strong problem statement and objective, then linking methodology to research objective, then after that conceptual framework and feasibility, and finally before we conclude of this module, um, some common pitfalls in the common mistake and pitfalls in proposal defense. Yeah, so I will describe what are the mistake, what are common, what are, so that you will be able to avoid that mistake when you do your presentation during, especially during the proposal defense. So I give you about 2 minutes to download this slide. So you can type this slide by using a short link, which is https bit.ly/4sap00u, or you can use the QR code which is display on the screen. Okay, so thank you for downloading of the proposal. Um, you can use this slide as your reference in the future. Then, if you have any questions with regards to the content of the module, you can contact with me with the contact number that I have provided in the background slide. Okay, so let's move to the introductions for this module. Yeah, so in this introduction, I'm going to briefly explain to you about the module outcome, and then as well the expectation that will be obtained from your from this module, and then and some of the added value, which is requirement by the academic department of the UITM, so that will be covered for both of the postgraduate and undergraduate students. So I will explain to you a little bit on the how what the usefulness of the adult value that will be corresponded to the research ethics in UITM. So this is a module outcome, which is by the end of this module, you as a student will be able to prepare a clear, structured, and definable research proposal. So I hope that the tips, the guideline that I provided here, you will understand, you can define what are the expectation of the opposer or panel of your research proposal, so that you will be able to structure your research proposal as according to the guideline. So the panel will read your research proposal thoroughly. So normally they are going to have two opposer for your research proposal, or panel for your research proposal. So this panel will be nominated. Normally in general, the panels will be suggested by the supervisor, and then the head of the postgraduate studies at your faculty will analyze, will forward this nomination and discuss in the JACAPS. JACAP is Jawatan Kuasa Akademik, Jawatan Kuasa Kecil Akademik Pengajian Siswazah at the faculty level. So normally JACAP will be chaired by the deans, and then the content or the members for the JACAP normally Deputy Dean of Academics, and then by the coordinator of programs. So this nomination will be tabled, will be presented, and then they will receive a comment from the nomination, whether that to approve or to appoint the nomination suggested by the supervisor. So for the adult value, there are four identified adult value that can be attained from this module for preparing of the research proposal. So the first one is the amanah ilmiah. So through this adult value, where it shows that your let's say that your amanah di dalam berilmu, uh, um, your integrity when we conducting research works. So this will give a value and will give the say that the responsibility of the researcher. So when you are conducting, where you are conducting a research during your master's level and PhD level, that you will follow all the required guidelines, and as well you will follow the integrity, the academic integrity when you do your research work. So the academic integrity, such as the plagiarism, that's the main thing that's a very common now, and then as well the usefulness of the AI. So you have to understand, when we do the research work, is about the expanding and exploring a new knowledge. So that is depend whether you are a master student or you PhD student, that you by the end of your study you're going to have a viva voce that going to be conducted based from your thesis. Then this viva voce, they're going to look how the research that you have been conducted will able to improve or enhance your academic capability. So the main thing here is that you should um, conduct your research work with full integrity, so that all the work is sincerely conducted by yourself, and then you will know the all the processes and what that you have obtained through your research work, so that when you sit for your viva voce, that you can defend the thesis that you had presented, you can you know each of the line, you know each of the words that you have written and that you have put into the thesis with high, I mean, all of it. So you will responsible all of the words. Let's say that in your thesis you have about 200 pages of the thesis, and then each of the words that you put in your thesis, you know where that is coming from, so that you can justify and you can defend each of the words that you presented. And in the second part, which is on the discipline penulisan, so that you're going to check, you're going to look into the disciplines of the writing, so that it will honor, it will, you know how to develop this writing, how that to develop it thoroughly, or you can write it with the full discipline, without the plagiarism, with the say that with the your honesty of the writing, so that you will attain all of the academic knowledge from the research that you have conducted. And then in the third part, that you will attain the accountability in academics. So the accountability is very important now, that is become as an issues, where we presenting the outcome of the research work, we presenting of outcome of the academic knowledge that we attain from our finding, from our research work, sincerely, and then with the full integration, with the full integrity, that corresponding with the uh, writing discipline, with the corresponding of academic discipline. All the information that you attain, all the information that you have obtained from the research work is accountable, so that you should know where this is coming from, you should know the reference, then all the quote, all the references you cite properly. And then this is you declare, this is from my own work, this is from my own sentence, it is not with the plagiarism. If you quote someone, then you give a credit to the people that you have quoted, so that it reflects your academic accountability. So this is the key of the success of the research work, so that one day you will become as what say that the owner, or what say that academician, or researcher, respected or reputable researcher that we can rely. So this is the current issue that we face in Malaysia today, where some of the, I mean, not all, but some of the researchers, that the information that they give to public, the knowledge that they spread to the public, sometimes is not verified. So this is the dishonesty in the academic. So we hope that whatever that you are going to write, whatever that you are going to present it, it is based from the accountable, is based with your high integrity. You have checked, you have verified all the information that you have obtained, and then you have cited, and then carefully that citation is valid. So if that citation as well, the citation is valid, but the quotation, or was quoted with a different context, or the citation itself, the quote from the owner, is unverified as well. So thus, like the hadith being in Muslim principle, in Muslim discipline, where the narrative of the hadith which is coming from the weak um, narrator is not going to be considered as a strong. So similarly, the accountability in the academic has to follow with this kind of discipline. So the narrator, so the researcher that have less credibility, that has less credibility in the discipline of academic should be avoided, so that you are going to take with the high reliable resources for your information. And this is very important to attain your academic accountability, and as well when you become as a researcher one day, whether in the industry or in the academic world, that you hold with this academic accountability. And finally, that you will be more confident toward of what you are doing through the berkeyakinan professional, or professionally confidence of what you have presented. So through the process of the learning that you had you attained in the academic world in UITM, you will be thoroughly assessed, you will be thoroughly monitored by the supervisor. So it is very important that you frequently meet your supervisor and have professional discussion with your supervisor. And it's not just when you have a problem that you meet with the supervisor, but as well to attain or to obtain the argument. So maybe that's some of the point narrative that you're going to put in your thesis that might be counter argued by your supervisor, so that you should know what you are doing, because you are the guidance, I mean, you are the the um, executor for your research work. So it is very important that each of the topic or each of the content in your research work, you attain it, you obtain it sincerely, and then you know where this information coming from, and you will have more confidence to present it not just to your supervisor, but as well to the audience at large, such as the academician from the other institutions, and as well the academicians, the panel of expert when you submitted your thesis, and as well when you submitted your paperwork to the journal, to the respective journal. So the counter argument that you receive will make you be more confident. This is a little bit of my background. So as I mentioned before, I'm currently director for the Smart Manufacturing Research Institute, SMRI, which is my original faculty is the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering at the University Technology Mara. I have working with UITM. I have been working in UITM as an academician since 2004, so which means that it's already about 22 years I'm in the university. And then my research area is in the energy recovery, turbo machinery, and the uh, energy powertrain for the automotive and aerospace systems. I have obtained my bachelor degree in aeronautical engineering in 2001, and then after that 2004 I graduated in masters of technique in masters of specialized in technique aeronautic and space from Sopero Toulouse. That was in 2004, and then after that I have begun my career in UITM in October 2004, and then I continue for my PhD in Imperial College London. I did research on the energy recovery for low pressure turbine for highly boosted engine. So I graduated my PhD in 2012. So that was about 14 years ago. And I keep continuing my research work, which is focusing on the energy recovery, doing on the turbo machinery design, and then as well developing and innovative of the engine architecture, including with the new directive for net zero carbon emission, which is looking on the hydrogen for the H2GT hydrogen, and as well ICE hydrogen. So if you would like to see my further research work, that you can scan on that QR code, which is will direct you to my respected Google Scholar, ORCID, and WOS. So this is to show you that when you are embarking into the research area, so in order to look into your contributions of your research field, that you need to have an account for the Google Scholar, ORCID, for the Scopus ID, and as well WOS, or Web of Science, which is monitored through the Clarivac. So I highly encourage you, before you do the submission and after you do submission, you look of the publication, you look into this website. So let's look in the first part of the content of this presentation. Before we had look on the introduction, which is on the perspective of what will be the outcome, and then the values that can be attained, and as well for my little bit of my background. As for the structure of the research proposal, we are going to look into the component of the research proposal, and then what will be the evaluation process that will take, what are the components that the opposer or panel will look into your research proposal, what are the itemized, such as the research title, and then the background of the research, background of the study, and then the problem statement, and then the abstract, and then the objective research questions, and then the research methodology, and then all of this content will be looked by the panel, and then they are going to rate each of the component. So there will be marks distributions that will attain by that will be given by the supervisor based from the guideline, and then you will receive the comments from the examiner, from the panel, and then you will respond to the comments. So the comments is the time frame for the comment will be based from the result that you attain. So as well, I will present the business process, or the process for the correction of your proposal. The proposal content, the that I had mentioned before, the structure of proposal is contained of the full title of the research, the requirement of the title of the research. I will explain later, but the basically is has to reflect the framework of the research, that include what will be the reflection of the objective, what will be the reflection of the problem statement, and the reflection of the method that you are going to look upon of the research. So normally this research title will be looked last, whether that the panel will understand the context of their research, and then by the end of the presentation, they're going to look again into your title, into research title of the research proposal. Then after that, we're going to look into the background of the study, or background of the problem. So this is expected about 2 or 3 pages, so that you are going to explain the overall statement. I mean the perspective, or the landing of the context of the research that you are going to look on, or you're going to conduct, so that you're going to give a current scenario, what will be the perspective of it, and then just a brief of the current scenario. Then after that, you're going to be more concise, be more precise, which is expected around 2 or 3 paragraphs to write on the problem statement. or problem identification with that respect of the context that you are going to look. So this will justify what will be the problem, what is the issues with that context, and then what are the feeling of these current issues, what needs to be done, what will be the next that, or what you are going to propose for this problem that going to rise. Yeah, so whether this is going to be the issues, or this is a global issues that nobody can do it, or this is going to be a very specific. So the problem statement in this context, it has to be very specific with the issues that you are going to cater. So, and then how that the problem statement, the next part is the research questions, which is intercorrelate with the problem statement and the objective, which is the number 5. The research objective, and then scope and limitations of the study, and then after that the significance of the study, and then literature reviews, the number 8, and then the conceptual framework, especially for the science stream. I mean for the engineering, but this is it depends whether what if you are required to do. I mean with the qualitative, this is going to be your compulsory, but you are going to do with the quantitative. Mostly engineering, we don't want to, this is not going to be your case if you are in engineering. And then what will be the hypothesis? So hypothesis is the theoretical perspective that you are going to use in order to solve with the problem statement. And then normally some of the proposal, they require you to write the hypothesis before the research questions. And then after that, you will write about, you will present the research methodology that include the research design, how that overall framework will look upon, so that your opposer or your panel will try to imagine what will be the overall perspective of this research work that you are going to present, what kind of sampling data collection, and then what will be the plan of the data collection that you are going to propose. And then after that, we expect you to present the study plan or the Gantt chart. What will be the activities that you are going to derive from the methodology, and these activities will achieve with the milestone with the corresponding of the research objective. And then as well, we expect you to list the current outcome, present a little bit on the current outcome, and finally the list of references. So we expect for the master student is about 30, and then maybe can go up to 50 of the letters. Normally they're going to look more of the latest references, maybe more than 50% for the latest references. Some require you to present more than 75% of the latest 5 years of references. This is the research proposal assessment distribution mark, where it is based from the RP panel, which is appointed by the faculty through JCAPS, Jawatan Kuasa Akademik, Jawatan Kuasa Kecil, Pengajian Siswazah, JCAPS, which is chaired by the deans of the faculty. So as for the marks distribution, which is the panel will take this mark in the UP track systems. So bear in mind the RP proposal, the student will do the submission in the UP track system, and then the supervisor will endorse the submission, and then the faculty members, the moderator will check whether that all the requirements prior the research proposal submission were fulfilled, uh, such as the requirements such as the attending the IGS research skills, and for PhD students you are required to attend the TI square. So once all the requirement has been fulfilled, then the moderator will do the validation, and then and as well to ensure that the students are active student at the moment. The student is an active student, then you can proceed with the RP.
So the marks distribution that is given by the panel, which is attained or which given in the UP track system, which is 5% for the title, and the problem statement occupied for 20%, where the problem analysis is divided by two segments, two items, which is the problem analysis for 10%, and then justification and rationale, which is defining of the research gap, is about 10%. And then the research objective and the research questions we cover about 20%. So despite that, the it just itemized a point, which is the research question and research objective. It's cover about 25% of total marks. Yeah. So then we have the we're going to evaluate on the literature review, which is divided by the organization of the bodies of knowledge, and then for that's for 10%, and then propose a research framework. So in overall, which is basically uh, the the uh, the panel will look how the overall perspective of the research that you are going to develop, and then what will be the corresponding perspective it will be. So the research methodology and the research design about 20%, which is the method of data collection and analysis, sampling of the design. So how that you are going to generate the data, so why and how, and then what will be the consequence of that, how that you are going to analyze that data, which is in the procedure and technique. And then there as well, um, they are going to look into the parameters for your study. So the corresponding and interaction of the variables that you are going to collect, and then how that you are going to model the parameters so that you will see the intercorrelation of each variable in terms of the parameter. So parameter weightage, so that the student is to look, is to assess your understanding, the student's understanding of obtaining the data, and what will be the usefulness of that data. So this is to ensure that the student will understand, the student will know what um, uh, the consequences from this data collection. Okay, so and then finally the significance of the research. So this is a statement that the student need to define what will be the relevant policy, what will be the impact of the issues that they are going to look upon. So normally we are going to look into the quintuple helix impact, such as the policy, to the industry, to the environment, to the society, and as well to the academia. So how this significant of the research, the student can identify what will be the usefulness of the research, what will be the outcome, what will be the significant of the research to the government policy, what will be the significant of the research, what will be the impact of the research to the responding society that they are going to deal with. Once the panel had given the mark, which is corresponding to the student proposal, that after the presentations, so the DRP result will be ranked as according to the category. So there are 5 rank according corresponding to each the categories, which is which are category 1, the 90, which the summation of the total marks between 90 to 100%. This is auto calculated from the UP track system, and because we have a two panel, which is panel 1 and panel 2, so the marks will be evaluated based on the average mark obtained. So 90 to 100, which is the student will be accepted, which means that the proposal will be accepted without the amendment. So 2 weeks between the timeline, the student need to do the submissions, yeah, the final submission. maybe there will be a the final version of it. And then category 2, so the marks is between 80 to 89, so where the proposal proposed will be accepted with minimal amendments, where the amendments must be verified by the main supervisor and must be submitted within 2 weeks from the date of the DRP. Then a result category 3, where the marks is between in the range of 70 to 79, where the proposal will be accepted with minimal amendments, where the student will be given time about 1 month to do the submission, and it has to be verified by the DRP panel. So the difference between the category 2 and category 3 is that the checker or the verified of the corrections. So category 2 by the supervisor, category 3 by the panel of examiners or panel of the RP. Whereas for the category 4, which the marks is between 65 to 69, which is a major amendment. So these major amendments require the student more time. So because they need to redo the submission, to resubmit in the system, and again to represent the RP panels. So it has to be conducted within 2 months. So within the timeline. So if the student fail to do the submission, it will consider as rejected, as a fail in the RP. So finally in the category 5, where the proposal is rejected and the student is required to submit and present a new proposal, which means that the whole segmentation of the whole proposal need to be revamped, and the students is required to submit a new proposal. And if it's possible, maybe the students need to have a new title, is allowed to have a new title, or maybe there will be a very so that obvious flaws that have in this research proposal. So it is advisable that the students, before do the submission, read thoroughly with the contents, whether that the research proposal will be meet with the corresponding uh, degree level, whether it is a master degree or it is going to be for study for the attaining of the PhD level. So this is correction has to be submitted between the timeline. Process or the procedure, business process or procedure that had been incorporated into our UP-Track system. So previously, the system is using the manual system for evaluating and submission starting from the submission of the proposal until completion of the proposal. So including the ranking and such on. So and a verification of the RP panel. So it was conducted in before 2020, it was conducted through the manually. So the student have more difficulties to track and such on to see immediate report from the examiners. So through this UP-Track system, the student don't need to come to the office, and they will do the online submissions. So once they have done, you can see that this is the role, where the role of the chairperson, student, supervisor, panel, chairperson, moderator, KPPS, JCAP, and JAF. So this is the student's role. This is your role. Yeah. So you do the submission, and then the moderator will do the checking, and then which is actually you will sit here. Yeah. So the supervisor you will do the submission here. This is especially for the new student. When they do the submission, the supervisor will check, and the moderator will create the DRP time, and then the RP process will be conducted, and then the chairperson will be appointed, and the RP will be so that the RP will be conducted. So the panel will evaluate your research proposal, and you will sit for the DRP. So and then if the DRP result is 1, then immediately you will do the resubmission for the final version, and then check and approved by the JCAP, and then you will be endorsed and you will get the letter of approval. But if your proposal will be get or attain category 2, then you will have 2 weeks for the will do the correction, and it will be verified by the supervisor, and then finally will be submitted to the office. If your result is attain a 3 category, then your times will be uh, 1 month for the correction, and the supervisor will check before it can be verified by the panels. Yeah, and then this is within the 1 month, and then after that the checker, which is by the supervisor, and then verification by the panels before it will submitted to the submitted for the approval and endorsement by the JAF. So this is a JCAPS meeting, and this is a coordinator or head of the postgraduate studies. So it will be endorsed after the corrections. Then if your proposal is going to be result is 4, it is allowed for the 2 times, so that the correction will be submitted by the students. Okay, and then after that the correction submitted by the student, and then the result will be given to you, to the student, and then you need to do the correction, do the submission, and then we recheck by the supervisor again, and the moderator will create another DRP session for you, and then you will come, and then this process will take about 2 times, maknanya 2 kali for the re-DRP, so in total about 3. So if your proposal is rejected, which is a category 5, then you will go into this timeline, this process that will be checked by the, it's like result number 1, but you will be do like what for the result number 4. Okay, so which is this is going to be a new submission for your proposal. So this is the business process that incorporated into the UP track system. Is very useful for the student to understand all the process required. About the process and procedure for the proposal submission, and the process that is need to be conducted by the student, and the procedure need to be done by the office and by the panel, by the role of the panel, the role of the chairperson, the role of the faculties to process your research proposal. Then this part, we are going to look into the main structure. So we have seen how the evaluation will be conducted, what is the distribution of the marking. Now, what are the expectation from this proposal? The first part, that about 5%, which is on the research title. So the requirement for the research title, that it has to be clear and it has to reflect on the overall of the research framework. So it should, the content, I mean the replicate, it also has to replicate of the level of degree, whether it is going to be master, which is to show the extension of the knowledge, where from this finding of the title that we don't see much of the novelty, but to show with the extension of knowledge of the applications. So then for the PhD, we're going to look for the contribution of the knowledge. So this is required with the understanding from your supervisors to approve or to look into the research framework that can help you to attain this contribution of knowledge. And then the result, I mean the research title has to be concise, which is short and brief, comprehensive, and specific, and which reflecting to the issues that you are going to resolve, and as well it must show the novelty and contributions of body of knowledge. Some examples, two examples that I would like to give you, like for example this one, the establishment of analytical model based on the fundamental effect on magnetic field onto the dynamic response of magnetohydrological elastoma for active vibration control application. So the first title, which is more suitable for the PhD students, and then for the second one, which is only look into the characterization of the bioelectricity. So this is can be considered as for the because it's only look into a very small part component, which is on the characterization without extending of its application. Yeah, so this is more toward the suitability is more better for the master student. So that is for the research title, and then how that the specific or the guideline or the tips to write the impactful of the research title that you can take into consideration for your proposal. The next part of the important aspect, some call it as the abstract, but my preference to call it as a research summary, because you still not developing your thesis, yeah, or still in the stage of you are going to of proposing the research work. So I would like to call it as the research summary rather than abstract, but basically it is almost in line or served with the almost similar, or sometimes it can be called as the executive summary. It's summarize or it's summative all of the what we call that the content of the research proposal in a standalone manner. So the requirements of this research summary or executive summary, that it can be independent or it will be standalone. So when you take out and put it into the, let's say, into the overall representing of the thesis or representing of the research proposal, then the users can see the titles, and then they will would like to know what will be the details of this without looking into the overall of the proposal. So just by understanding or just by reading the executive summary, then they will understand what will be the research topic is all about. So what is the requirement? The next requirement, it should elaborate the title, and then it should reflect the framework, and all the sentences that put inside, be written is in short and concise manner. Short, which means that they only use a short sentence, not a hanky panky, but straightforward. And then concise, in explaining or in discussing or in presenting of the works that you are going to deal. And then the length is about 250 to 500 words only. So normally is about half pages of the proposal. Yeah. So then there is no references are allowed, no reference is allowed to be included in the executive summary, because it has to be a standalone, and normally it is written as a single paragraph. So to show that it's concise and short and brief, normally it is required with the single paragraph presentation. And this one, the abstract, normally you will find or you will see when you do the literature review. Some tips for you to write, or when you want to look into the understanding of the writing of the abstract of the paper or journal. It will contain of the following. So the first one, it has to be a concise statement or a sentence for introductions. This paper, this project studies, or this proposal proposed to study, or something like that. This as a sentence for the introduction, and then after that, it will focus directly to the specific problem statement. So as you write the details of the problem statement, that you're going to look into the context and the landing of the problem, and then how that the problem going to be solved, that will be explained later. But in the executive summary, or in the research summary, or in the abstract, you should write straightforward or specific problem statement with regards to the issues, or with regards to the project that you are going to deal. You don't put generalized problem statement. You don't put context. If you want to put context, that very brief intro, a statement, a point or words that put, but will be integrated with the specific problem statement. And then you're going to put what will be the offered solution from this, which is on the hypothesis. A very small statement. Some require it, some don't require it to write a hypothesis. What kind of the solution for this specific problem statement? And then you should write the main objective. Maybe you have 3 or 4 objectives, but you have to sum up whether that it is going to be you going to so that select what will be the best representing objective, or you sum up that objective to become one global objective, one general objective that can tell all the other objective. So there are two ways of presenting this main objective. Yeah. And then a brief methodology. For, let's say that you have 3 or 4 methodologies, then you write a statement, or 2 or 3 statement that going to present these methodologies. And then after that, the expected outcome of the project. What will be the expected? What will be the contributions of the? What will be the what will be the output, what will be the significance of this project, and then how that this project will contribute and give an impact. If this if you are referring this to write for the paper or journal publications, so this the final part, which is actually on the last two, which is actually this one, the significance outcome, and the last one is the conclusion. You write the conclusion of the research work that had been produced from this project. So, but if you're writing for the research proposal, you're going to look into the contribution, not into the conclusion. Yeah. So the tips for the differentiation, for the paper proposal publication, it is conclusion. For the research, it is contributions. Which is on the background. So the background is the background information. Normally, it is written between 3 to 5 pages. Depends on the your supervisors. Some that's required if the total overall of the proposal is only 20 pages. But you have to limit the background of the study. So maybe it is about only 1 2 to 3 pages. Yeah. So that to elaborate or to give the overall background information, that going to elaborate the title, and it has to be clear. So what are the context of the research? Yeah. So that what will be the overall perspective of this. So that inside here you can put the world's problem, the specific industry problem that is correlated with. And then it also has to replicate a brief literatures, where you're going to look into the current issues and what are the major studies that be conducted previously, that related to the problem statement, that related to the issues that you are going to bring into this research work. Then you have to as well to look into the a brief of the relevance research, which is conducted before we proceed to the research, and then before we proceed to the literature review, which is to look into more details. Yeah, inside of the literature review, we try to find the information that will be useful for our research work. So This is steps in the research process that you can sum up, which is the define the problem, literature review, select a research design, formulate hypothesis, carry on the research work, interpret your results, report the research finding, and then as well repeat the finding and validations. The first part, which is on the writing of the titles and the structure of the proposal. Yeah. So in the second part, we are going to look into the how to write a strong problem statement, and then to derive the research objective and the corresponding of the research questions. So because the problem statement, the research question, the scope, the limitation will be and derivative to the will be derived the research framework for the study that you are going to conduct. So this is a very important, so that you will identify concisely the problem statement and to derive the research objective. Statement. A problem statement is describe the issue or gap in knowledge that propose research aim to address. So I give you some tips on the how the writing of the or expectation of the opposer or the RP panel, which is such as in the letter slide, tips to write. And then what will be the context that you are going to write, yeah? So how that you are going to present your problem statement. So it has to be clear. The clarity is very important. So we don't want to solve a world issues, yeah, but we are going to look into a specific issues. We are not going to solve the overall global issues, because your PhD is just as a ticket for you to conduct the research work independently. So you should know what will be the specific issues. We are not going to solve the world's problem. We are not going to solve personal, I mean, in person, I mean, as individual, we are unable to solve the global issues. We are going to contribute a very small part of our study that going to maybe about maybe 0.2%, 0.1%. It's a very, very small part of the solution that we going to offer for the overall global issues. Yeah? But the main point here, the PhD study is to train you to become as independent researcher, to you to be more analytical, for you to be more independent in generating of the knowledge, into assimilating of the new knowledge or discovering a new knowledge, so that you will know what will be the step of need to be taken in order to generate that knowledge. And as for the master students, the main objective is for you to utilize the knowledge, and then to practice that knowledge into this specific area. So another requirement, it has to be short and concise, but not too short, but enough or to represent the problem, that specific problem or issues that you are going to highlight. And as well, it will give you the benefit, such as it shows a benefit, such as it can increase the efficiency, it can increase the time, it can reduce the cost, and such on. And then as well, it will give you what are the requirement for that problem. And it has to be into the focal point or into the context that it will be the solution will be looked into. So the focal point is important, so that the specific problem of these issues that required you to apply the hypothesis, to apply some of the fundamental theories, some of the known theories, known theoretical framework for this particular research, yeah, for this particular issues, so that you will identify what can be done, what can be the theoretical or modeling or solution can be used in order to solve that then which is you identified prior with the research gap for this problem or issues. And then finally you will be able to generate the research questions as according to these issues. Yeah, so this is an example of the derivation of the problem statement, where you can see clearly the first part, it gives the ideal states or context of this. So which is microbial fuel cell have been recognized as an encouraging challenge. So everybody knows these issues, the ideal state or the context of it. But and then after that, it we goes into the specific reality, so which is the problem itself. So despite the advantage of this is the reality, there are still practical barriers to consider, including the low electricity with this one, and the current instability and high internal resistance. So this is the reality. So in fact, these things, we how and why it is happened. So this is principally the performance can be affected by several factors. So this is in consequences. So what? Okay, so this is so what. And then what will be the proposed solution? The exploration of new alternative electrodes. So this is the exploration that going to be proposed by the proposal. So summary, the problem statement that had been put in the previous slide is actually given from this condition. The first part, but according to these four contents, yeah, the first part, it gives the ideal state or the context of it. And the second part, the reality. So you should be able to write this accordingly. Yeah. And then after that, what will happen? So what? With this reality, what will be the consequences of it? So how much the differences with this kind of the problem? So the number of the efficiency, the number of performance has been dropped due to this limitation, something like that, or the time consuming, or the policy that had been that had been practiced had diverted the, or that had discrepancy of identifying something. So it shows the lackness of the current solution or the current method that has been proposed, and then that has been used. Sorry. So then finally you're going to put your solution. So what will be the research aim? So this is not the objective, but the idea of how this can be derived, so that you can come up with the hypothesis, and as well you can link with the research questions. So this is important, the final statement, where it will bridge, or it will bridging the or it will connect between the problem to the hypothesis and to the research questions. So the problem statement will be able to encapsulate the context, looking into the problem, and finally create the research aim. Next is the hypothesis. Hypothesis is a testable statement or prediction that suggests a relationship between two or more variables. It is the basis of the scientific research and serves as a guideline for the investigation, where it's educated guess about what you expect to find in your research. So it's give a predictions, where we going to highlight what will be the theoretical solution that can be used for solving this problem, for solving these issues. So it will look into the expected outcome, a statement that going to brief into the expected outcome that reflect the research and identify the variables, as well as formulate the statement, yeah, so such as the equation or the modeling that going to be used, and it can be testable. So which means that the solution can be the proposed solution from your hypothesis can be conducted. is visibly. So sebagai contoh, for example, if the solution that it is a modeling that you're going to propose, what kind of fundamental issue, what kind of fundamental equation that is behind, and then how that the modeling can be used for that fundamental or statement or fundamental theory that you have identified to solve the issues that you are going to study. So this is the hypothesis example that have been derived by another researcher that you can read, where the recommended solution, yang the red color that be highlighted, yeah. So the recommended solution improving the MSc study by modification of electrode materials, and then as well that you can see what will be the parameters that going to be identified, what will be the variables and parameters that are going to look into this study. Research question has to be linked with the problem statement and the hypothesis. So it will relate to the problem statement. It will narrow the topics and will as well connect the objective. Normally, the research question, the number of the research question will be corresponding to the objective. It be given one to one. If my method, normally I will map one to one. So this is the one research questions that will questions, and the answer will be obtained or will be attained through the research objective. So there are few research questions that can be arise in the scope of the proposed study, such as the question can be what, why, and how. So normally it will consider as the following. Yeah, for example, how to fabricate carbon electrode from OPEFB with higher surface area for bacterial growth, chemical stability, conductivity, and relatively low cost for the MFC anodes. So how questions normally will be answered through the tangible or the measurable results, which is normally it will give you a method. Normally for the how, and then for the what, it can become as a fundamental questions, which is interconnect that you require to do the analysis, evaluation, and synthesize. So as for the how, is required with the fabrication, it required with the modeling, it will require the answer will require with the generating of the solution itself. So it is about like for example the fabrication, it will answer the manufacturing. So is a how, which usually refer to the process. And then how, why, and why. Another one is a why. Why is more fundamental issues that it can also be derived from the intercorrelation that obtained from the analysis, from the evaluation, and as well from the synthesis. So why question is more a fundamental questions. So if you are doing more on the fundamental research, why question is very significant. But how question is not that will good or advisable to put into your research question, because it more toward of the development of the prototype. We're going to look into the research objective. So tips for writing good research objective is that it has to be in SMART, according to SMART, which is SMART, S-M-A-R-T. S standing for specific, M is measurable, A achievable, R realistic, and T is a time frame. So that you should look into your Gantt chart. What will be the derivable activities that you're going to conduct, and then what will be the corresponding time frame that is required. So some of the example for the objective writing is like to fabricate the carbon base. So which is mean that this is a production development. So this is more, when you put this objective, you have to make sure it is short, it is specific on the process, and as well what will be the output of it. So the output has to be measurable, and it has to be achievable, realistic. So next is the analyze. To analyze is, it has to be, you should look into the cognitive domain, to look into Bloom's taxonomy, and then try to study on the Bloom's taxonomy what are the advice word announced that you should put into, adjective into this, your objective statement, so that it will reflect to the measurable component of it. So but don't be very optimistic when you put your research objective. It has to be realistic and time frame. And limitation has to be included into your research proposal, where the scopes and limitation is describe the constraint that has to be overcome by the research proposal. So these constraints are divided by the boundaries and as well by the output. So what will be the expected boundaries? So for example, the rotational speed. So it's a measurable, something that, so the number of the sample, so the scope, I mean the boundaries, yeah, so the system that it will involve, the testing environment. So and then what will be the expected output from these boundaries. So for the boundaries, you're going to look what will be the function of these boundaries, and then as well the features. So like for example, the rotational speed for engine, like for example the number of samples. So what will be the type of the sampling that you are going to take, and maybe the timing, maybe if you are going to do with the minority studies, then might be you're going to look into the boundaries of the identifying of the people, or identifying of the patient that we're going to be involved. We are only going to study for this specific function only. So as for the output, which is actually we are going to look into the deliverables. So what will be the expected output and deliverables that you are going to expect from the research work. So this will create a boundary conditions for the output of the boundary condition for the subject of your study. The content, which is the main aspect in your research proposal, is the literature review. But I believe the details of you have one special module to discuss about the literature review, and then how that you want to put this literature review. So however, for my part, this is going to be a very brief explanation what it is required for the literature review as for the evaluation process in your research proposal component. So we are looking for finding what are the relevant information. So you are not writing a textbook, you're not writing a book scheme. You should become more critical in terms of evaluating the research, previous research. What will is the likeness from this research? What are the main strength? What the advantage? And then how the most important thing is that how this research will contribute, will help to develop your research. And then it has to summarize, it has to be determined that what is the most important here, and then how it is going to be relevant to your research work. Then it has to synthesize, to connect between the ideas. You will be able to identify the main point. So what you are going to attain, whether the method that has been presented, the modeling that has been suggested, or the result or the correlation that the output of the research has done, has proposed. Then you will going to integrate of all this information, refining the research gap so that it will presenting the current state of knowledge that you attain from this literature review. I had explained you in the second part the revision of the problem statement with the research objective, where we had outlined what is expected for the problem statement, and then after that the final part that we look is the research objective, where through the literature review, where the literature review is where that you're going to look how to develop the problem statement, how to identify the hypothesis, how to defining the objective. And because you are going to compare, you're going to synthesize the previous research. And for example, you identified this previous research, and then what are the objective and the outcome, what kind of method that had been conducted. So when you go into next step, when you constructing the framework, which require you to look into the methodologies, and these methodologies has to be linked into the research objective, which is we are going to discuss in this section, which is how to link between the methodologies and the research objective. As we has expect before, we had the problem statement that derive the hypothesis, the research question, and the research objective. So this one we are going to present you how that you can plan for your research objective and the corresponding method that you are going to apply in order to achieve your research objective. Yeah? So what kind of methodology, whether it is a numerical, modeling, experimental work, survey, or you're going to look into the big data, available database, and such on. The research methodology. Research methodology is the systematic and structured process employed by the researcher, in this case employed by the research student, to conduct a study or investigation. So the research methodology outlines the strategies, techniques, and procedure of how that you can obtain and analyze the data in order to answer the research question and get the achieve the research objective. So you answer the research question and achieve the objective through the testing of the hypothesis, through the testing of the fundamental equation, through the fundamental basis of the fundamental knowledge that have been applied to solve the problem. So the key component of the research methodology includes the research design, sampling, data collection, instrumentation or tools, data analysis. If required, you need as well to look into the ethical consideration and plan of it. When you are going, if this is involving with the human or animals, then you are going to require with the ethical consideration. So such as if you are going to conduct a survey to a people, you're going to distribute a survey question, so then you need to have the ethical consideration. Validity and reliability, so such as that you are going to compare the result. If you are going to conduct with the theoretical or simulation modeling, then you need to verify that data so that you get the confidence. And finally, the data interpretation. What will be your strategies for the data and interpretation in the report? The writing of the research methodology has to be clear, and this is a guideline of the writing where it has to be clear and detailed for your fieldwork, onto your sampling techniques, into your interview session, into your analysis. What will be the corresponding lab work, and what will be the different phases of the lab work that you need to do, and what kind of experiment protocol that you have to go through, what kind of statistical analysis that you can do. If you are going to compare between the data sampling or what kind of the instruments that methodology instruments that suitable to analyze your data. And it has to be achievable. So such as the research objective, that you should map the methodology into your research objective. And then what will be the expected result that you want to attain from this methodology that you implemented. And it has to include the following, such as the research design, the flowchart, the Gantt chart, the details of activities, which is, and as well with the including of the milestone. So how to design this research work, how to draft a Gantt chart, and then you put together this Gantt chart with the activities. So these activities, which is actually derived from the milestone that you expect from the methodology. So this is as well, if you look here, this is each of the component you need to discuss in detail. And then the opposer or the panel will highly anticipated to look into this research framework that you are going to produce. Research design framework, look at it carefully, how this is going to be mapped from your title, derive your problem statement, derive your research questions, derive your research objective with the component of the research methodology with the corresponding research scope that you would like to highlight. So if you look this carefully, which is actually, this is about the research design framework. If you can able to identify this problem statement and its corresponding research question and research objective, you are very clear. You can download this, you can use this one, this method that I suggested into to suit with your own research framework, research methodology framework. So I'm very happy if you able to look in this one, and then as well to plan for your publication. So like for example, objective 1 for one paper, objective 2 for another paper, objective 3 for another paper. So this is also going to be very useful when you do the planning, especially you want to write a paper. So this is very useful. I have used this a lot in attaining for my student, my master and PhD student, and as well for my final year project student, so that they understand the overall what you are going to do for your research work.
In the previous slide, I have presented to you the framework of the research proposal that you can map, starting from the title, and then problem statement, and then after that to the research questions and research objective, and finally map to the methodology. However, this research design flowchart is also a compulsory segment, which is you need to include in the methodology sections, where this research design flowchart provides visual presentations of the sequentials that involved in a research project. So it will guide the researcher through the entire process, from problem identification to the dissemination of the finding. So that for me, I would recommend there are two mapping that you can use to do with your research design flowchart. The first one, which is conventional, which is I believe that if you go through with the final year project or technical presentation, technical project during your final year, which is quite basic on the left side. And then whereas you can as well map with the according to the objective for your research proposal, then you map as according to the what will be the objective, and then the methodology, which is the methodology is putting in the middle, and what's going to be required, the input and the output for the expected method or activities that you're going to conduct. This is another example, a good research proposal, a flow chart that combine with the basic, and then as well adapting of previous uh, phase base and then the methodology base of the research flow chart. Then this also will indicate the milestones that going to be achieved, and that milestone will be mapped as according to the phases or the objective of the research proposal, and will include inside of the methodology, which is all the activity that is going to be involved. If there is a failure, if there is a good or result, they will proceed with the next level. um, However, that I would advise you, if you are doing with this kind of flow chart, please be careful with the type or shape that you're going to choose. For the rectangular is normally for the process, and then for the diamonds usually for the decisions, yeah, for the decisions. And then there is also another checker, and which is actually this is the presenting of the business process. So when you put business process, there will be corresponding of the info as according to the type of the shape that you're going to put in your business process. So you have to look what will be the corresponded shape, suitable shape that will corresponding to the business process. So if you do this kind of method, then you should be careful with that usage of the sign. Yeah. So if okay, collection is another important elements that you need to describe in your research methodology, where through this data collection you will describe how the obtaining of the data, and then where the data will be obtained, how will be the experimental work, and then what kind of information that you're going to obtain, and then what kind of process data that you're going to do after that, and then what kind of parameters that you are going to adapt with. What kind of parameters that you are going to analyze. So from this chart, from this slide, it shows simplification of the data process, which is a project that look into the database project, where the data is obtained through this data mining with the respective of the tools, which is SQL and TOT. And then this when we do this data mining, data collection, there are certain variables that we need to determine. So this has to be specified how this the mapping of data collection will be obtained, and then the source of data, for example. So if you are doing on the quantitative analysis, you need to mention what kind of source of data, metadata, whether you're going to be, what will be the driving, what will be the software that you're going to use, and finally what will be the parameters or the processes of the data, the variables, and then you produce with the parameters for your analysis. So the Gantt chart research activities and milestone need to be put into your research methodology, so that it can be it can be evaluated by the panel. So the Gantt chart is a visual tool that used in project management, usually to illustrate a project schedule over time. So the Gantt chart displays tasks or activity as horizontal bar, along with the timeline that showing the start and end date of each task and activities. It will sum up and look into one timeline, where it has the starting date and end date, and then as well it can be adapted with the milestones, and it will corresponding to the methodology, activities, and the objective that it want to achieve. So whereas for the research activities refer to the specific tasks or step that involve in conducting a research project, which is the derivative of the research methodology. So this can include such as the literature review, the data collection, and then data analysis, experimentation, coding, and much more. So each research activity contributes to achieving the overall research objective and helps in answering research questions. And finally, the milestone, which is also can be included in the Gantt chart, which is a significant point of events in a project that marks achievement or completion of a phase. So normally it will reflecting on the achievement object of the objective or some of the content in the objective. So in research milestone could include completing of the literature review, obtaining ethical approval, finishing data collection, and submitting a draft. So but yeah, for the research student, then you are can include with the literature review. But however, in the next, when you become as a researcher in the career, putting literature review into your Gantt chart is not advisable, because this is for the student perspective, yeah. But if you have become as a researcher, putting the literature review seems that you are not ready to execute with your research project work, so you don't have the groundwork before or prior you conducting the research. So literature review has to be done prior of the project. This is an example of research activities Gantt chart, where you can plan your research activity according to the objective, methodology, and scope. On the y-axis, you will put the timeline starting from your entry date to the conducting to the research work, and then when will be you conduct the literature review, and then the data collections, then econometric modeling. Then you can put as well with the completed the achievement of the milestones. Okay, so achievement of the milestones, you will it's basically milestone is a completed task, so that you will determine when this the output of the data collection, for example, so that will be considered as the milestones achieved by the end of the that corresponding activities. And then the econometric modeling, data analysis, thesis writing, and completion of the thesis. You also can include the Gantt chart for your study time frame, that inclusive of the DRP. When are you going to present for the DRP? So presented DRP, for example, that you can also include into your what we call that management research time frame. And this is the research activity time frame. So research management and research activity time frame that you can include into this Gantt chart. So if you want to explore the how to develop this kind of Gantt chart, I will advise you to look or to scan into this link. There are two links I provided here. You can use the QR code, and then this QR code will directly you to the YouTube channel that will guide you how to conduct how to create the research Gantt chart. uh, Not just with the research Gantt chart, but how to create a Gantt chart that you can apply for your research work, which is the method that putting there, which is actually the guideline for you to conduct to develop the a Gantt chart. Yeah. Then this is a little bit of the a guide for you to do your presentation guideline when it is come for the time of the viva voce, that it's going to give you an idea of what will you have to present. Yeah, so such as the introduction that has to be, because the presentation will depends on the faculties. Some of the faculty require you to do the presentation for 10 minutes, and some of the faculty 50 minutes, but in general it's about 10 to 50 minutes of the presentation, so that you have to cut short. I mean, in term, or you go straight forward of what you are going to do during your research work. Yeah. So this is some guideline for the presentation, where the introduction, overview of the research background, the main content of the research proposal, and then you have to also be careful with the visual aids. Yeah, then as well with the transition and interactive elements such as the Q&A that will be given by the end of the presentation. Yeah, so after you had presented your proposal, then the panel will have short Q&A sessions, and sometimes when the panel is not satisfied with certain explanation, then the Q&A session can drag up to 1 hour, something like that. But it is a role for the chairperson to moderate the RP process, and they don't supposed to ask any questions during the RP. So this is the presentation element, which is for the first part, which is that you need to present the overview and background of the research, where you're going to put into the context of your presentation, and then you're going to explain what are the topics that you are going to research, what topics that you are going to do. And some of the students, they would like to paste a very long wording presentation, such as they're going to copy and paste of the executive summary. So this is going to be a very long timing consumed to read your presentation, whereas it is already available in the research proposal. So my advice is that you cut it short and make it concise to explain, so that your panel will understand directly what will be the context of your research, what are you going to do, and why this research need to be conducted, which is will be relevant to the problem statement, and then how that you are going to conduct this research. So this is going to reflect on the methodology. So you're going to put why, which is the what are you going to study, which is going to include the objective, what are the purpose, what are the objective, what are the main objective of the study, and then why, which is the problem statement, and then how that objective will be attained. And then you need to summarize the key concept of the research, so that you don't have to present the overall background of the what you have written in the research proposal. So visual aid is very important when you do the presentation, so that when you and as well visual aid for your proposal, so such as the graph that you're going to present, and then um, whether it's going to be a presentation or you're going to put into your research proposal. So put in mind that your visual aid has to be simple and clear, and then it can be readable, and make sure a consistency of the presentation of the visual aid, the color, the font sizing, and the locations has to be standardized. So when you write your proposal, when you do your presentation, you must have your own standard. So where this is the standard that you created, when you do the presentation, or when you write a thesis, or when you write any technical report, this is the consistency that you are going to follow, such as what will be the line, what will be the font sizing, what will of your figure, what will be the bold, what will be the thickness of the bold, whether that you're going to have a grid line inside of the diagram, or you're going to have, you know, the inside point thing, I mean grid, or you're going just to have with the later on I will show you in the next figure the axis x and y axis, and then how to, if you are presenting a simplified figure that going to explain a two axis graph, so what you are going to do, and then the legends, and then the font type, font sizing has to be as simple as possible and consistent. So my advice is that you create a template for your presentation, you create a template for your in your Excel, so that you're going to follow with, or when you do the presentation, when you write the proposal, when you write the paper, technical paper, that this is going to be a standard of you. Then it has to be a high quality image, not just for your proposal but throughout of your publication. Make sure the image that you produce, you know how to create this image to become as high quality as possible. And during your presentation, you should limit with the text, yeah, and then use a visual hierarchy where this is with regards to the presentation, so that you have to ensure the most important element you put it in the proper highlight. Okay, and then you engage with all the graph or the figures that you present, so that your panel will understand directly what you are presented. Then the charts has to be, you know, the use or the chart that you engage, and then my preference is that we use a white space. As you can see from my presentation, white space create a contrast, so that the audience can read your presentation, can understand your presentation easily with this contrast, yeah. And then the information has to be relevant with the context that you are going to present, and you use a visual it wisely in order to give mind setting for your audience, and as well for your panels, and knows who is your panel. So the figures in the chart, in the figures, and then in the proposal, in the thesis, in the so that in the paper journal publication that you're going to create has to be very clear and representing of the data that you're going to analyze. So the function of the figure to present the data, to clarify the concept, to illustrate the result, to compare and give a contrast, and then as well in the condensation of the information. So there is a lot of information that we can attain from this result, from this data, from this view presentation that you are going to give. And then it also can enhance the readability of the concept or result that you have attained, and it will support with your argument that you have presented in your writing. So how to create an effective figure, that it has to be simple and clear, with the appropriate scaling, so that you can differentiate the numbering, and consistent. So the, like for this example that I putting here, that this result is attained from my research work for the computational fluid dynamics, or CFD. So it is presented through the contour that cut for various section, starting from the leading edge 20% of the chord until to the trailing edge. So this is a turbo machinery project. And consistently here I have put a legend, where the legend should be easily seen, that representing all the figures. starting from A until E, and we use a similar legend. So if you use differentiation of the legend, for example, for one figure, then you have one legend, another figure it has respective legend, then you cannot differentiate the movement flow. So for example, this one to representing the entropy generated through the cord. So, velocity of curl generated through the cord. So you can see the difference created by the contour and where the highest velocity, and then you can do the further analysis, and then you can compare each of the section. So where the section that the highest and where will be the most possible problem will occur into this result, yeah. And then you use a color to contrast the differentiation so that the figure can be clearly seen, and then as well use label and annotation to label all the result. Another important, which is the figure that we are going to present. For example, a schematic diagram. Normally, when you conduct with the engineering problem, testing, we need to be clear what kind of testing that we are going to conduct, and then the layout or the proposed layout for the testing. What will be the component, what will be the schematic of the testing that can be conducted, that will be conducted, where a schematic diagram is a visual presentation of the system or process using an abstract symbol rather than detailed image. So we use an abstract symbol, like for example, this is the project that I had conducted for my PhD, where the systems, the testing, the lab is presented by various symbols that presenting the piping, the valve, the control systems, the data acquisitions, and then what will be the connecting of it. So it gives you the layout and the idea what kind of the instrumentation, what kind of the hardwares, what kind of the lab equipment, what kind of control that has been used in order to run the data collection or to run this experiment or the testing. So in terms of the detailed image, it just with the presentation of it. It's not a correct image, but just a presentation wise. It just doesn't need with the correct of the sizing, yeah. So just to present the processes that involve. So it is a common tool used by engineers. So that's why most of the engineering thesis we relay our communication through the figures, through so that the panels, the audience, the reader will understand it directly. So this is the layout, and this is the content of the processor that it has, and this is the control system that we use, and then this is going to be the measurement. This is where it is measured before, why that it is explained, but all the equipment schematic diagram, which is actually we present the whole layout of the process that be conducted. So in order to come out with a schematic diagram, normally for my case, I just use with words or PowerPoint, and you can as well use with the MS Visio to get a more accurate schematic diagram. So I know some of my friends and colleagues from the electrical engineering, they use a Visio for developing the circuit diagram, for example. So it is more convenient to use with the Visio. And then the key component in the schematic diagram, it has to contain of the symbol, line, and arrow to show the directions. And then the arrows indicate as well, you know, when you use in the schematic or in your figures, be consistent. A solid arrow representing what? A dash arrow representing what? A light line, what does it present it? So be consistent so that the the reader, especially the panel and the thesis evaluator, will understand it easily when they see the labeling and then the consistency that you have put in your schematic diagram. And then as well, you have to show the interconnection between the component to so that the panel, the reader will understand the interconnection of the process that it has to go through. And then it is also important to label it, and if it is there is a value, then you put a value. If there is a, you know, like this for example, it is clearly labeled, so what is this component? We don't have to put the function, but as engineer, they will understand directly if they are, you know, evaluating for your thesis or for your proposal. They can directly detect what are the function of that components through your label. This is a example of the data presentation. What will be the expected of the figures? What will be expected of the parameters that you are going to put? For example, that you are going to compare between the simulation and test data. And then the simulation and test data, which is actually we put into the data validation or data verification, and we come up with the calculation numbers. What will be the level of confidence, confidence level? What will be the variance of this? So what will be the standard deviation of this test result? So that it will give a confidence for you to present this data. And then be consistent, whether this is what I mean by the inside of grid line. And then as well, the outer for the X direction and Y direction, the legend, the coloring of the legend, what does it present? The this one, what correct, this is a symbol, this is the data label, and as well the series, yeah, data series that being used, whether it's going to be a line, whether it's going to be a connecting line, and then a type of this. So please be precise and concise, I mean consistent in presenting of your data. And then it has to be, you know, with the right unit that you impose into your diagram, so that the reader will understand it. The X is presenting the engine speed, and it is as according to RPM. The brake torque is according to unit of, we use English unit, Newton meter. So each numbering is clearly stated, then the reader will clearly understand what will be the situation of the result. And as well, if you see that the minimum values here putting you 100, so that please be careful, don't use with the default setting, because sometimes default setting is not going to be very nice for your presentation. And on the right side, which is a complicated data, which is the mapping, and then we put this one in terms of the result that obtained from the testing is going to be a very complicated, and then you need to use your creativity, how to make your data to be more presentable, so that you will simplify it into, you know, despite that we see this is a complicated data, but when we present it with the correctly into a right data performance map, then you will show you we can identify the information, you can relay the information directly to the audience, yeah, so that they can identify where will be the no-go area, what will be the maximum capabilities, what will be the island, what will be the lowest value, what will be the optimum value. Just throughout this data presentation, that you can explain a lot of things from this data presentation. So, and when you, if you wish to publish in the high impact factor journal Q1 and Q2 in WOS, it has to be ensured that your data presentation has to be very nice. It has to be at the presentable manners, so that the audience, the reader, will understand it easily, and as well easy for you to elaborate the data from the figures that you presented. So, and the colorful segmentation is also very important, yeah, and in your presentation. So this is another example to show the various way of the data presentation, how that the clean data that you're going to put from the complicated that you see, I mean, when you put it in a presentation way, that you're going to see what will be the borderline, what will be the minimum line, what will be corresponding, you know, like this, for example. And then you present it in a nice way, so that the reader will easily read your information, yeah. And then as well, you can see here that how this the graph is just being presented with black and white. Sometimes the black and white is just enough, because you know, the presentation doesn't need to be a very complicated. Black and white, because you know, many printers, when many readers, they're going to print it. So when they print complicated data or colorful data, it's going to be difficult for them to read. So sometimes in your presentation, it just good with the pattern, presenting through pattern, or presenting is as, you know, black and white dotted line, use a differentiation of the bold line and such on, so that it can be more presentable when the audience print it in black and white, yeah. So another, on the right side, is also quite complicated to read the data, but the way that we use, this is another option that we can generate a presentation, which through the sunburst. So you should explore in the Excel how to manipulate your data. So this is another sample, another example where I had mentioned before that you use just with the black and white data presentation, and then with the data labeling, how to make it a more convenient way of the complicated data to be presented. So you will see a lot of contrast from the data presentation, despite of the complicated data, despite of the lot of the information that going to put, yeah. So you can differentiate easily, and the font sizing that you put in the figure, it has to be contrast and readable to the audience, eh? And then as well, with the legend, the location of the legend need as well to be consistent. If you're going to put on the right, then be consistent to put it on the right, or at the bottom, or the location of this data going to be presented. Now let's look into the I think this is the second final part, which is the conceptual framework, which is the conceptual framework and feasibility, which is it is uncommon for the STEM, for the science, technology, and medicine, but is more common nowadays, because the combination of mix of the research, sometimes they also required to do some of the qualitative data analysis prior to the actual work, especially if you are in the computer science, and then you are going to produce a framework for your systems. So then this is also going to be helpful, so that you can measure what are going to be the element or factor of the success of the project. Conceptual framework is a working diagram to explain intercorrelation of the research variable. So this is expected research variable and parameters. So, and the research variable and parameters, normally you will obtain from the literature review, that based from the theoretical framework, or based from the other researcher that recommend, so that this is going to be expected variables. This is going to be contributor. This is going to be the factor that contribute to this perception, for example. So it is the expectation of the research outcome with the corresponding parties that for the area focus. And then is also especially for the qualitative research to become as a guide for the data collection. So many or most of the research for the science and technology, you will not going to focus on this unless otherwise you are going to do with the qualitative research that going to collect the corresponding response from the users, response from the professional, or you need to conduct the interviews. So this is going to be aspect that you need to consider. And then the development of the conceptual framework, you need to go into a very specific class so that your so that the tutor or the instructor will explain you more details on how to develop a very good conceptual framework. Finally, we are going to look into the some common pitfalls in the proposal defense. What are the issues that commonly been raised by the panels during the presentation and as well when they read your research proposal? One of the main issues is the plagiarism. So in the event of plagiarism, the viva voce and as well the defense of the proposal will be deferred so that by the committee members, and the case will be referred to the university disciplinary board by the postgraduate office as recommended by the respective college or faculty. So the decision will be based on the content or the plagiarism that you had put into your proposal or into your thesis. And please bear in mind that this going to be a very long process and very stressful process, not just to the students but as well to the administrator and to your supervisor. So please be careful that you the dishonesty in academic will be painful. Another common mistake in the research proposal, normally, so which is conceptual and thematic flaws where the scope is too broad and it not focused. So you cannot understand why this filling the gap is very important. And then as well, the solution that cannot be attained from the problem. Another aspect is such as the methodological weaknesses. The method is not clear. In order to attain, so you unsure what kind of testing, what kind of experiment, what kind of data collection that you are going to conduct, which mismatch between the methods for the research objective. And then as well, you ignore the feasibility of the research, the data collections, how that data will be collected, the risk factor, and for the backup plan there is no if situation. Yeah, so that I recommend you to also include the technical risk factor, time risk factor, and then time risk, the technical risk, and as well the financial risk should be as well included into your methodology. And as well, the literature review pitfall. So this is a common mistake by the student where it's giving a report of the literature review. It does not have a critical element that has been embedded by the student into this literature review. The student does not compare. The student unable to further investigate the finding by the researcher. It doesn't mean that you need to become as the researcher for that particular project, but you have to articulate what has been done, what are the lateness, and what can you pick up from the information from this literature review, from this study. And sometimes you are relying on the outdated sources, the methodology, the parameter, the corresponding articles is already outdated. So that make sure 75% or more than 50% of your literature review is the latest 5 years. Yeah. So which means that if 100 research or references that you have collected, make sure that you refer 50% at least of less than 5 years, or the most recent resources, yeah, or references. And finally, you ignore onto the mechanics and the compliance, which is you have to look as well, you have to read well the guideline, how to write the proposal. You have to alert with the requirement. You have to alert the distribution of marks, what you should focus in your research proposal. And then when you do the presentations, don't put the too much wording in order to explain, and don't give too much jargon wording when you write the research proposal. Just be straightforward and be yourself when you do the presentation, and as well to put into your research work, especially for the title, for the objective, and for the methodology that you are going to write. So I think that's all for my presentation. And then I wish you all the best. And before we finish, I would like to give you this picture of a hooding ceremony that we conducted a day before of the convocation. So this hooding ceremony is set for celebrate all the graduates, PhD graduates of UITM that we conducted a day before. And then normally or in general they conducted at the SACC Convention Center banquet room. And then sometimes VC also will be attended the ceremony. And then or at least the deputy vice chancellor academic also will attend. And then you can bring your parents, and then you can bring all your children 12 years and above. And then you will be celebrated with your supervisors. And then this is to appreciate or to look upon again what the journey that you had gone through in order to complete your PhD journey. And remember, PhD doesn't need a good, a smart student. Doesn't need a brilliant student. It just need a perseverance and keep motivations high in order to complete your journey. I wish you all the best, and then hopefully that you going to complete your research proposal on time and finish your study, masters and PhD with GOT, or graduate on time. Thank you very much.